I'm Chris,
And I'm Kylie. And this is Redefining Resilience,
where we explore what it means to build a resilient lifestyle
so you can thrive in any and every situation.
Welcome back to another episode of
Redefining Resilience.
Boom Shakalaka. Today we're going to talk about meal prep.
I love meal prep.
So do I.
Why do you love it?
Because I like structure. Structure makes me happy and it helps me control my variables.
All very true.
Why do you like meal prep?
I like it because it reduces my cognitive load. So it's one less thing throughout the week that I then have to make a decision about, because we're making so many decisions on a daily basis that if you can eliminate some and put them on autopilot and automate, right? It's just like in your business. If you do the same thing over and over and over again, like let's say, I don't know, like let's say you run a gym and you have towels that you have to wash every single week. Why not figure out how to make that one less decision? So maybe you just do your laundry every Friday, and without question, every Friday you take it home and you're like, I know that I'm going to have clean towels coming in on Monday morning because I did them over the weekend.
So your intentional action created habits?
Yes.
Yes, that's the entire premise behind meal prep. I think that's skipped because we think, oh, I'm going to do meal prep because I want a body that looks like this, or oh, I'm going to do meal prep because I want to gain weight or reach this goal. That's a byproduct of building a very intentional habit.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because you can meal prep and you don't have to have the goal to lose weight as a good reason to start meal prepping.
Well, it doesn't even matter. Like, you can meal prep pizza in water bottles. What we're talking about is saving your time and creating a habit of intentional action. So, I mean, I know a guy that lost 35 pounds eating hot dogs every day. So if the goal is to lose weight, a byproduct of eating the same thing or a structured thing throughout the week will be weight loss. And I can say that again and make sure it's very clear. A byproduct of eating the same thing consistently over the week, consistently every week, is weight loss.
Well, within reason, because if you're eating like Whoppers every single meal 5 times a day, you are not going to lose weight. So it has to be the right things. So we can't put a blanket statement over that, but you get the idea.
Well, if you make the food.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just preface it with that. You have to actually make the food. You can't pre-order McDonald's every day. That's not meal prep.
No.
Meal prep is intentionally putting certain items inside of a container for all your meals throughout the week.
Yeah. So I started meal prepping, I don't even know, probably like 10 years ago. I joined a CrossFit gym and I embarked on this 60-day challenge. And in this 60-day challenge, we were given a list of foods to eat and then a list of foods to stay away from. And so because I had this structure, and it also gave me a bunch of recipes. So I tried all these cool new recipes during the time, and I really made it kind of like a hobby to get good food in my body that was in adherence to the meal plan that they put in front of me, right? Because I invested money in this 60-day program and I was committed to losing weight and making a change in my lifestyle. So I had a really good structure when I first started meal prepping, but I'll tell you, I've done everything from weigh my food, weigh everything that goes into those containers, to just making crock pot meals and putting them in a container, or like throwing in a lasagna and slicing it up into pieces, because we were out of town the weekend before, and I needed to do something for convenience. So when we talk about meal prep, like there's degrees to which you can do this, and you can go from beginner to expert over any period of time that you want, right? So this is just building the habit of preparing our meals in advance.
There's a funny meme on where the guy's got, or the gal says, I think I got this meal prep thing down, and it's got a Pabst Blue Ribbon sitting next to a slice of pizza that's in a Tupperware container. As funny as that is, like, if you build small things, it doesn't have to be extremely healthy up front, because what we're doing is building a habit through intentional action of preparing your meals ahead of time. So the body operates in a really interesting way. The most consistent stimulus wins. So if we can keep consistent stimuluses over time, we're going to see better results. All we're doing with meal prep, if we want to talk about the health portion of it, is creating consistent stimuluses of certain macronutrients. So not to get into the weeds in that at all, but we're just trying to eat the same thing every day. The thing that is closest to a nutrient-balanced diet every day. And the best way to do that is not to remove or not to add in another variable of having to cook it every day.
Well, and if you think about it, when you don't cook your own food, because the alternative to this is that in the moment, if you don't have a prepped meal, in the moment, you're going to choose whatever is convenient. And if you think about if you go to an office for work every day, if you go to the office without a lunch with you, what are you going to do when it comes time at noon to make a decision on what you're going to eat? Well, you're probably going to say, well, one, am I able to leave the office or not? And if I can't leave the office because I'm just so busy and I only have 30 minutes to scarf down lunch later on, I'm probably going to order something that's going to deliver to me.
Convenience.
Right. And then if I do have the ability to leave, I'm probably going to go have a meal at a restaurant, sit down, have a whole experience, or maybe I grab something to go and bring it back. And either way you hack it, someone else is preparing your food. You don't know what ingredients they're using. You don't know what they're adding into it. You don't know the quality of the food that they've purchased. There's just so many unknowns, and they're going to probably do it at whatever's most cost effective for them. So that doesn't mean that you're getting high quality ingredients. And that's what the consideration you have to make when you're thinking about, okay, do I bring my lunch or do I take a chance and go purchase lunch from somewhere else and roll the dice on whatever I'm putting in my body, because I have no visibility into what those variables are. So then you want to talk about the most consistent stimulus wins. We don't even know what the stimulus is that we're putting into our body, really.
That's where things get fishy, right? That's where it gets very frustrating for people when they say, well, I went to, I don't know, Super Bowl Power Foods and I eat this all the time. It's like, just understand they're not going to do things that are going to be ineffective or not cost efficient, like you said. They're going to make this thing as fast and as efficient as possible. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's not their job to feed you the most healthy things. It's their job to feed you something that tastes good so you come back and buy it at an inefficient, cost-effective manner. So to say, well, I only eat healthy food and, oh, it's their fault, removes your, like I say every time we're on this stupid podcast, personal responsibility. So you just have to take responsibility for it. I think meal prep is more of you saying, hey, listen, I'm responsible for all my variables now, than it is anything else.
Well, and don't get us wrong. We enjoy eating out just like everybody. I love when someone else makes a dinner for me or makes a meal for me. It makes my life so much easier. And sometimes that is totally fine. But if that is your norm, if your norm is to eat out 5-6 meals a week, if you think about that, that's a third of the meals that you're eating in a given week.
Yeah, we have 21 in a week.
Yeah.
So we eat 3 times a day, 7 days a week. That's 21 meals.
Right.
So we got to talk about most consistent stimulus. So I hated math when I was in high school and college. Hated it. When it applies to money or the body, I think it is absolutely fascinating because it tends to be very simple. So if we're talking 21 meals in a week, what's the most consistent stimulus over the 21? Like, let's control that. The more we can control that, the better we can reach the desired outcome, and we can figure out what goes into the outcome that we currently have. So whenever I pull on a new training client or mobility client that wants to be more involved in their outcome or has a more granular outcome than I just want to move better, I say, I want you to track your meals for 7 days. Just write down everything you put in your mouth. And every single time people will like blush a little bit and they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, nothing will ever surprise me. I had one client that would eat 2 Little Debbie Hostess snack boxes a day.
Oh, my Lanta.
He was a big dude, but he was honest. So the more honest you are with yourself, the more you see what's happening and the more control you have. So one of the biggest problems we have as Americans is we consume based on convenience and pleasure. And convenience and pleasure can also be very healthy. It is very convenient to eat a healthy meal that is prepped for me. This morning this is a Saturday morning when we're recording this, I open the refrigerator, I grab our container of beef and rice, and I throw it in the cooler, and I head off to work, and I love it. Very convenient, tastes great, equals a great outcome. There's no decisions in that.
Well, and just so everybody knows, when people think about meal prep, usually the number one objection I get when people are like, oh, I can't meal prep, it's because I don't have time. And people think that meal prep takes so much time. I spend a total of 2 minutes on a Sunday making beef and rice for our meals, and the beef literally takes me 30 seconds to unpackage it and throw it into a crock pot with some seasoning because I just let it slow cook, and then I walk away, and it tastes great. Easiest way to cook it. And then I throw 3 cups of rice into our rice cooker, which again takes me about a minute. Well, you have to rinse the rice, which takes 72 minutes because Chris does a very thorough rice washing job. But after you get all the rice rinsed, like, it's a set it and forget it thing for both of those items. And the rice cooks itself, the beef cooks itself, and then all I do is put it into a container. And I throw some kind of sauce on it when I'm ready to eat it, and voila, I have meal prep done in about a total of 5 active minutes of effort.
So that's what I think people don't want to be honest with themselves about, and because it's, I guess, awkward or new, they feel like it takes a long time and they don't necessarily know what they're doing. Same thing with everything. The first time you do something is always awkward and kind of clunky. So I would challenge you to time yourself. I used to throw this fit and say, well, I don't have time to make my eggs in the morning because it's just, I got 3 kids and I own my own business and life is too busy. So I said, you know what, man, if this takes me 5 minutes, I'll do something else. It took me 3 minutes to make my eggs, 1 minute to package it. So we're at a total of 4 minutes to cook 4 eggs, put cheese in them, scramble them up, and put them in a container. I was under my 5-minute window. At that point in time, I was trying to gain a lot of weight, so I was eating very on its word. So it took me another minute and a half after the water boiled, which didn't take much more than 2, to cook a box of spiral mac and cheese that I would eat on the way to the gym in the morning before I trained. So I was under 10, I think it was 7.5 minutes total, to cook a meal for after my workout and before my workout that I can consistently do every day. So then I got kind of obsessed with that notion, like, how many hours do I have in a day? 24. How many hours do I have in a week? 168. And how many hours does it take to pre-make all of my meals if I did it all at once?
way less time.
Not even 30 minutes. So that's what I want people to be honest with themselves about. I want you to literally chart this shit out, because what you're saying out loud doesn't equal what's actually happening. Meaning, how many hours do you watch Netflix? Hours. We're talking hours a week. I mean, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20. We watch a lot of Netflix as Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, we watch a decent amount of Netflix. And then to say, I don't have time to meal prep. I don't have 30 minutes out of 168. You do. You just choose not to do it. So I know that sounds harsh. That's why I want you to time yourself. If what you're cooking takes 4 hours, congratulations, Gordon Ramsay. I don't know what the fuck you're cooking for yourself, but that's insane.
Well, I will say that the more variety that you add into your meals for prepping, it will add time. So when I was doing this, when I first began with the CrossFit Challenge, I was making like these elaborate meals. I mean, I made these like deli sushi rolls. I have no idea like what I was doing, but I made these like fancy meals every time. So the more variety you add into it, the more it's going to add to your time. So if you're okay starting out simple, and this is what I would recommend to anybody who's listening and like, okay, but yeah, how do I get going? Just start small. Make one meal that you are really, really efficient at cooking or that you really enjoy, and make a large portion of that meal and then split it up into containers. And there's one meal that you now don't have to cook. And then if you tell me, okay, well, my kids eat different food, and so are you telling me that I have to prep food for me and for my kids? Well, that's up to you. I mean, what's going to make your life easier in the moment? If you're making your kids chicken nuggies in the air fryer, do you really need to prep that? No, probably not. So how about you prep your food, and then when it comes time to feed the kids, you just make their food in the moment. And if your kids are good eaters and they eat the same food that you do, well, then let's just supersize your batches and make larger portions of the meals that you're all going to eat.
Because that's where the math cracks me up. Like, well, I got to cook for 6 people. Okay. Well, if we're cooking the same thing, it's not 6x the amount of time. If you cook 1 egg, 6 eggs don't take 6 times as long. It's just more. Mm-hmm. I mean, it might take a little bit longer, but I'm here to tell you 4 eggs and 6 eggs cook the same amount of time. 12 eggs cooks a little slower, but we're talking, I don't know, a minute longer. And 12 eggs is a shit ton of eggs. If anybody ever decides to do that, let me know how that goes. That is a ton of eggs. At the end of the day here, this is all just about what do you want out of this, and what are you willing time-wise to put in realistically. One of the big things we talk about, I know both of our trainers talk to their clients about this as well, is what's your timeline? What do you expect out of this? Because if you think you're going to start doing 8 hours of training a week, good luck, man. It's just not going to happen. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. 3 is a big undertaking if you don't train. I train maximum 4 hours a week, and I'm a competitive strongman. Martel's a competitive strongman. 4 hours a week is maximum. So we're not really asking you to change this huge amount of things in your life. What we're asking you is to say, hey, listen, what can I do to intentionally put good food in front of me on a regular basis? On Sunday or Saturday or whatever day you have off, take yourself an hour, 30 minutes, write down what you're going to cook, what the ingredients are, prep your ingredients, understand the process you're getting into, and execute.
And another idea, some people like to prep the raw ingredients or the components of the meal that they're making. So, for example, if you're making spaghetti for your family, cook the noodles in advance, maybe dice up the ingredients for the sauce, and then assemble it live when you're actually making the food for your family that night for dinner. The more work you can do at one time, one, it reduces the number of times you have to do dishes, because if you're saving time just doing all of the cooking at one time, you're likely going to be able to eliminate some of your dishwashing time and cleanup, because you're making the mess all at one time instead of 7 different times throughout the week. And you're saving money too, because then you can use ingredients that are more versatile for multiple dishes that you're making that week. That's the other thing I try to do is if I'm making potatoes for one meal, I'm going to get a bigger bag of potatoes and I'm going to make potatoes for 2 meals that week, just so I can get bigger bag, buy in bulk, reduce my pricing, and then have ingredients that are going to be used in multiple dishes so that I can save some time and money that way too.
So there's a rule of thumb in fitness. This, well, it spans pretty much into every realm of everything that humans are involved in. If it sounds goofy and looks goofy, it's goofy. So quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck. If it's got 19 different steps and you have to cook it overnight or sit in the refrigerator for 72 hours exactly and then stir every 2.5 minutes, too much, man. I've seen some wacky stuff come out of Instagram that's like, this has 72 grams of protein and all this other stuff. And it's like really complicated. You don't have to have really complicated things in your life in order to get the things that you need in your life. Colorful plates and whole foods. Those 2 concepts, you're golden. We eat a shit ton of frozen broccoli. I love frozen broccoli.
Well, and the great thing is frozen vegetables have the same nutrients as vegetables that you get fresh from the produce section. They're literally the same ingredients. And with frozen veggies, I can just throw them in a meal prep container, and if they thaw out, totally fine, because when I heat it up in the microwave, it's going to taste great. So I use frozen veggies a lot of the time for meal prep. And typically what I'll do is just make my proteins, put a frozen veggie in and a scoop of rice, or I'll have some potatoes made or a sweet potatoes and have a healthy carb. And it's very simple.
Well, that's the thing. What is it? KISS method? Keep it simple, stupid?
Yes.
Just keep it simple, man. I mean, if you're asking too many questions, I do this to myself all the time. So like I'll get into a new training routine or we'll start a new concept at the office here. And it's like I have 3 pages of notes of how I want to implement this. And I'll just go for a walk around the building. If you ever drive past and I'm walking around, it's probably because I'm taking a break in between something.
I see you walking around all the time. I'm like, what's he stuck on?
Well, I need a 30,000 foot view. It's like I'm getting too in-depth into this, and the in-depth isn't going to make this better. So even down into sales, I created a list of 10 people I wanted to call the other day. I'm not super excited about cold calls, and I'm creating all these scenarios in my head. And then I just pushed my chair back from the table, grabbed my coffee, and went for a walk. And I already had one of the numbers dialed into my phone, put it in my pocket. By the time I made it to the back of the building, I just picked it up, dialed it before I thought about it. And I said, hey, went through my spiel real quick, and obviously it was on a voicemail, but it was like, that was very smooth. And it was smooth because I was at a 30,000 foot view. If you get super granular with the things that you're doing and you cause yourself anxiety, back up.
Coach Haley says this all the time. Don't get stuck on the method, just commit to the mission.
She's so cool.
It's so good. And if you think about it, just commit to prepping your food or planning your food in advance. Don't get hung up on, I'm going to have to do this and this and this and this, and I don't know how to do that. And don't worry about it. Just start. Just make a plan. Start thinking about meals that you like to eat on a regular basis and make a list. Plan it out. When do you want to eat it? How are you going to make this food? What else can you make using those ingredients? It's fantastic once you just get going. So my process every Sunday, I think about, I write down on our whiteboard, what are the dinners that I'm going to make throughout the week? And I look at my calendar, because you can't do this living in la la land thinking, I'm going to have time to make this elaborate salad and all the, aside. And, then I'm going to go grill steak for us with some garlic butter. Like, hell no. What time am I getting home that evening? So if I know I'm not getting home, my last call ends at 7:30. I know I need something that's quick, and I'll make salmon in the air fryer because that takes like maybe 10 minutes. I'll nuke up some broccoli and I'll have rice already waiting in the fridge. Easy.
Boom.
That takes 10 minutes because I don't have 45 minutes to an hour to make an elaborate meal. I'm going to have about 10 minutes before I'm going to start getting hangry because it's already going to be 7:45. And then I'm going to eat at 8, right? Like, my goal is always to be done eating by 8 because any later than that, your body doesn't get as much good sleep because you're too busy processing food that you ate too late. So I logistically look at my calendar and think through, okay, how am I going to be feeling that night? Where's my energy level going to be at? What time am I going to get home? Okay, that's going to determine what the meal is that I choose. We like to do breakfast for dinner on Monday nights. Well, if Monday night we both are not getting home until 8 p.m. or 7:30 p.m., it's not breakfast for dinner because cooking bacon takes about 45 minutes in the oven. So it's not going to be an elaborate meal that night. We're going to choose a different night to do breakfast for dinner. And we typically have the same like 5 dinners every single week on repeat because it's easy and I don't have to think, and then I don't have to make all these choices, and then I don't get hung up on making the choices.
So one really cool thing I learned, probably 10 years ago, maybe, I don't know. Feels like 10 years ago being so old, is that everything we do requires calories. Everything we do requires energy. So not just physical actions, but amount of brain space. When we sit there and we toil over what we're going to do for dinner that night, we are spending energy. We are using calories.
And it's releasing cortisol and adrenaline if you're stressed out about it.
Exactly. So what we're trying to do conceptually here is give you a guide to reduce stress level and anxiety. What we're doing is allowing you to take control of your life, take control of your variables, and not be perfect, because perfection's not the goal. The thing that's going to kill progress faster than anything else is this concept that we have to be perfect with it. I challenge everybody to remove the bullshit off of social media that tells you have to do this. The minute I hear somebody say this has to be, or you should do this, or this is the only way, I stop following them. Because at the end of the day, their variable structure, their stimulus structure, and their life is not mine. So there is no way somebody that doesn't know me, that created a video outside of ever hearing about Christopher Ewing, can tell me I have to do anything. I have to do these based on my current stimulus structure and what's in my life and what I want out of it. I.e., you have to take personal responsibility for your life. If you want a different outcome, you want to be healthier, you want to reduce stress, meal prep does all of those things for you. And we're not chasing perfection here. I eat ground beef and rice all the time. One, because I absolutely love processes and similar things all the time. The habit, the pattern. Do I absolutely love beef and rice? Do I open it up every time and I'm like, fuck yeah, beef and rice? No. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, man, I don't know about this, But it's simple, it's easy, and I don't have to think about it. Then I can take that energy that I'm spending on trying to figure out what I'm going to do with things food-wise and what I'm going to cook for dinner and how I'm going to fuel my workouts and all these other variables that will start spinning out of control, and remove all of them. And then I can put my energy into my wife, my dogs, my kids, my workouts, my job, my friends, all these other things that don't increase my stress level.
Yep.
I control that.
And I feel more confident going into the week knowing I've got a plan and I'm not going to have to stress about food. It's a relief for me. It feels stressful when I don't have food prepped. Like if we go on a weekend trip or something and I didn't prep any food come Monday morning, I get stressed out about it. I then have to think, I have to stop in the middle of my workday to figure out, okay, what am I going to eat right now? Because I didn't bring anything. And it truly is a disruption to me being able to just be present with my work and the things that I've got going on that do require more focused energy. I don't want to have to focus on what to eat. That's something so insignificant to me, because at the end of the day, I think you're right, Chris, that we have to shift from food is not intended to be pleasurable. It's there to fuel us and help us sustainably go about our day with energy. Calorie literally means energy.
It's just a measuring tool, right? That's how they measure the amount of energy inside of the food. Like, it's very simple. Once you break it down and understand why it's listed the way it's listed, it makes more sense.
And here's the problem. If we don't plan, what we're going to do in that moment is force our brain to make an impulse decision. And then we're also forcing our brain to decide between convenience or health. And if it's up to me, I'm always going to choose something that I want to eat, not necessarily something that my body needs to eat.
So here's an interesting set of facts. So I got really hardcore into the health of Americans. It's very concerning to me how we just had this constant cycle of sickness. Because I'd have clients show up and I'd have my maximum client load at one time was 30. So I was rock and rolling. I had a client at 4 a.m. till like 8 p.m. every day. And there would be this constant cycle of, oh, it's flu season. Oh, it's allergy season. Oh, it's cold season. And it's like, well, wait a minute, man. How do we have 4 seasons and 37 sickness seasons? So then I started to track it, because I think the only way you can make decisions is from data. And there's some fantastic websites out there, some fantastic Instagram pages too, about data. But if you look at the way we consume food as a pleasure, and you look at the amount of sickness during pleasurable, quote unquote, pleasurable seasons, they follow each other. So if we look at the amount of flu problems in the fall, we have a season of Halloween, which is candy and alcohol, heavy partying. Then we go straight into heavy cake sugar season for Thanksgiving. Then you go straight into heavy cake and sugar season.
Cookies.
And cookies and happiness and sitting by the fire with your PSL, which I totally love. But if you look at the amount of sugar and shit food consumed and the amount of sickness, it's a byproduct of the sugar and shit food.
And less sunlight too.
It's a lot of things.
In the winter, right?
But if you look at the controlled variables, we can't control sunlight, right? We could follow it technically, but we can't do that. But what we can do is follow the amount of bad processed sugar-filled food and alcohol in our life in the process that we're told that we should follow. So we have heavy flu season at the same time as heavy sugar season. We have heavy problems in the summer with sickness and colds and whatever is going around, but we have heavy alcohol consumption. Mm-hmm. And all of these things correlate. So the more you can control your variables, the more you can remove yourself from the quote-unquote sickness seasons, because the sickness seasons are based on consumption. Your output's based on input. So all we have to do is watch what's happening around us and understand that this food that's pleasurable is not giving us an outcome that's desirable. Not saying you can't enjoy your food. We just have to understand the outcome of eating for pleasure as opposed to eating for fuel.
Well, and you got to also look at kids that have a lot of structure. So if you think about babies and young children, the parents that have raised kids on a very structured schedule know that when you deviate from the schedule, it results in havoc from an emotional regulation standpoint, meaning like, let's say your kid always takes a nap at 1:00 in the afternoon. And because you had your kid at a birthday party and this kid is now awake at 2:30 p.m. without a nap and now they're cranky, it's because you have disrupted their usual rhythm that keeps them emotionally regulated. So even though we're talking about food, your food is going to impact your mood, your energy, your emotions, your cortisol, your adrenals. It's impacting everything in your body. So the more consistent you can be with this one variable that is an input, right? The health domain is all about sleep, nutrition, exercise, and how we view our health and our goals around health. And if I'm looking at sleep, nutrition, and exercise as my inputs, these are the things that I have to be able to control if I want to have a healthy system.
Well, at the end of the day, it's not punishment either. Like, we're not asking you to eat beef and rice every day because we think we should live as a martyr for the fitness world. No. What do you want out of your life? Do you want to be happy and healthy and chase your grandkids around? Do you want to be happy and healthy and look good for a potential spouse? Do you want to be happy and healthy and be able to live a quality life with your spouse? 100%. Maybe you want to be single and just chase your fucking dogs around, or you have gerbils and you need to live for them. Whatever happens, you will not be worse off by taking care of yourself through better food and planning. There's no way. I would challenge everybody. Find me and tell me that it went sour, and I will change my mind. Because if you are intentional about the food you put in your body, you understand that it's healthy, you're making good decisions, and you're planning, you will be better off. It's like I said, it's not because we're trying to make everybody angry and hate their life and that you can't enjoy a pumpkin spice latte, because good Lord knows I will 100% enjoy the pumpkin spice lattes. We just have to control the variables.
Do it for your gerbils.
Exactly. Do it for your gerbils.
I'm dead.
We just want to help you control your life. That's it.
That's right. And truly, like with anything, think about your luxury sports car. If you drive a really nice sports car or some sort of like expensive vehicle that you love very much, one, you got to put the premium fuel in it, right? You've got to control how you drive in it. You're not going to just give the keys to your 15-year-old learning how to drive and say, okay, go have fun in my Maserati. No, you're probably going to control who drives it and how they drive it. And you're also probably going to make sure that if any damage happens to it or any of maintenance or repairs need to happen, you're going to promptly address those, right? You're not going to let a flat tire continue to sit in the garage while it's getting worse and then bending your rims and, causing all sorts of other problems. You're going to maintain those things because you know that this is an expensive investment. Your body is the luxury sports car. Right? Like, we have to make sure that we are maintaining our bodies like they're a Maserati or Lamborghini or insert your favorite car. I don't care. But if we're not treating our bodies like the important vessel that they are, this is the only body you get until you ride off into the sunset at the pearly gates. So you got to take care of it now while you can, while it's easy, while you're still young enough to establish new habits. Because I look at the older generation, and it is so much harder when you're 70 years old to change your eating habits or to start exercising or to get more sleep after you've been used to a very disruptive sleep schedule. Your body now is accustomed to the patterns that you've been programming in it for 70 years. Probably not going to happen. So at 70 years old, it's going to be whatever it's going to be. And so it's up to you now, while you're young enough to do something different, to do it. It is not too late. You're not too far behind schedule to start meal prepping. You're not too far behind schedule to start taking walks throughout the day. You're not too far behind schedule to start prioritizing sleep, knowing that it is going to give you more energy the next day. These are facts. Like, we're not here to tell you to do a bunch of woo-woo shit that, you know, hopefully maybe will make your life better, or you feel, you know, a happier emotion. No, these are things that we know to be true and have done ourselves to get to where we are today, where we're happy, healthy, energetic humans making an impact in the world. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want.
Yeah. And I think you have to look at your risk versus reward. Like, what's my risk versus reward for finding the most pleasurable food now and avoiding the things that just don't make me as happy? Like, yeah, we play now and pay later. I mean, it is a problem. Like, you want to enjoy life, right? But we just need to find something that has more value and enjoy that. It's an unarguable position in my life that once I removed food as this big, giant, pleasurable thing and replaced it with my family and my dogs and my job, like, that was way more pleasure. And to know that I'm putting myself in a position that I can be at my best for those people far outweighs the Pabst Blue Ribbon, far outweighs the crap food, you know, and the intentional decision actually helps me when you're too busy to remember your food in the morning and you buzz right out the door. I'll grab your vitamins in the morning. I'll grab your food for you. And you'll do the same for me when I miss it, because we see the value in it and we understand that this person needs to live their best and we want to help you do it. And we make better decisions and we make better choices. But I think it just is a matter of looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, do I want to live a happy, healthy life, an intentional life that has value, that lasts for a while? Because you don't know what's going on inside of your body. One of the questions I ask each one of my clients when I first start working with them is, there are things going on inside of your body that I don't know about because you don't know about. And if you don't know about it, I don't know about it. Are you okay with that variable? Well, yeah, because we don't know. There could be something in your body right now. We are exacerbating with the candy. We're exacerbating with the Fruit Loops.
The alcohol.
We're exacerbating with the alcohol. Why exacerbate a problem and cause more stress and potential harm when you can control that variable?
Well, and we talked to Will about his cancer journey, and he was living with cancer not knowing. But thank God he prioritized his health, because he was able to physically endure the cancer cells and fight them with the help of modern medicine. But if he didn't have that strong foundation, who knows how that could have turned out?
He had a very high percentage that he would not have made it.
Yeah.
That took a huge toll on his body.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said earlier, we're not trying to beat you down here. We're actually opening up the window for progress. This is exciting. This is day one, if this is day one for you, or this is just solidifying that what you're doing is a great idea. Keep going, brother. Keep going, sister.
And have fun with it.
We believe in you. We understand that the stimulus of living in America is happiness over health, and happiness now and pay later, and don't worry about later because we'll just put it on credit. We don't live on credit, man. This is your body. It's completely different. So we support you 100%. You want to dive into this and you got a bunch of questions. I absolutely love talking about this. So please reach out. Let us know what's going on. If you do have questions, we're here to answer them. We got 2 other great trainers. We got several other great coaches. You and I both more than happy to field some questions that are coming in about, how the hell do I start this? Where do I buy Tupperware? What's going on? We love all these questions because we can get really down and dirty in what's going on. And we're here to help. And we 100% believe in you. You can change your life. You can live the best life. We have this podcast to motivate and excite you to do those things.
And here is a call to action for you. So if you listen to this episode, you feel motivated, you do some meal prep, I want you to send us a picture of your refrigerator with those containers stacked in it and tell us how you feel knowing that you've got your meals planned and ready for the week. It is the most satisfying feeling every time on Sunday when I'm done meal prepping. I stack those containers in the fridge and I just stare at it and I look at it with pride. Like, these are my little food babies that I have raised and brought into the world, and now they're going to make me happy throughout the week and make our lives easier. And I just have a sense of pride every time. And I just stand there for a second, admire my work, and I close the refrigerator door and feel good about going into the week. So I would love for you to experience that joy because it feels so good to me. Take a picture, send it to us. We'd love to put it on our social media and showcase your efforts and just celebrate the win with you.
Hashtag celebrate the win.
Whoop, whoop.
Thanks for listening to Redefining Resilience.
To learn more about building your mental and physical readiness, check out odysseyresilience.org.
And follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok.